Hi there, and welcome to Belfast High School History on YouTube. This little video is going to look at the significance of the Korean War, and it's the third in our trilogy looking at this major 20th century conflict. So let's have a look and see just how significant this was for history. Well, the Korean War lasted from 1950 to 53, major 20th century conflict. It was fought regionally, but it had a lot of international input from various different powers. And clearly it has a lot of historical significance. The war itself was fought around the 30th parallel, this border, the 30th parallel, and was fought around that for over 2 years. However, at the culmination of this war, the border would remain very much around the same place it started. Approximately 3 million people died in the Korean War. The vast majority of these people were Koreans. This actually makes it arguably the deadliest Cold War conflict, and especially one of the deadliest conflicts in Southeast Asia. The Korean War is also an example of the first Cold War proxy war, a war fought indirectly between the Soviet Union and the USA. They could not fight directly, remember, because that could actually lead to a nuclear confrontation. So a proxy war is whenever the different sides are involved in different ways, but not directly. Other proxy wars clearly would follow, like Vietnam. The Korean War also is an example of the policy of containment working. Okay, it might have taken a long time, but it did manage to stop communism from spreading to countries like Japan and the Philippines. If you look at the video and the events, you can see that at one stage in the war, the North Koreans had almost defeated the South Koreans, and it was almost it was only United States intervention that really prevented that from happening. So containment had worked. However, rollback had proved to be highly dangerous and counterproductive for the United States. So MacArthur pushing across that 30th parallel, heading towards the Yalu River and the border of China, really did spark Chinese involvement. And it demonstrated as well the limitations of United States military power. I think up to this point there was quite a lot of hubris over what could be achieved, but the war demonstrated the limitations of that military power as well, and the futility of rollback. By 1953, the United States and the USSR had also developed massively destructive weapons, not just atomic bombs, but now hydrogen bombs. These were devastating weapons which could cause massive consequences, and this actually may have helped move both sides towards an armistice, thinking about the potential of this type of armed conflict. We also have China being significant in this war as well. China had proved itself a really, really important Cold War power to be reckoned with. It was only Chinese intervention that stopped the Americans reaching the Yalu River and basically reuniting Korea in its own image. And the Soviet Union, it actually as well takes note of this as well. It realizes that China has become a major communist rival. Okay, they're both communist powers, but both sides eye each other with a degree of hostility. So this would actually lead to a split between the communist powers in 1960. The United States learned to respect Chinese power as well. There remain deep tensions over Taiwan, which still remain to this day. I would also look at China, though, later on as a power that could potentially be used to negotiate power, and that was part of the bargaining chip over détente. The United States also became a firm security presence in the southern hemisphere of treaties with Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines, and this would later lead to the southern equivalent of NATO, which is SEATO, which is Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. Again, an organization based on security. The United States, just like with Germany, actually began to really look at Japan differently. So its old enemy, World War II enemy Japan, it begins to sign treaties with it. It begins to increase economic investment. It does not want to lose Japan to communism. So it starts to really look at that as more of an ally, a regional ally. And finally, involvement of Korea led to the United States bolstering its military commitment around the world. It was committed to maintaining containment, and it massively increased its defence spending, and it added a military commitment to NATO as well. From then on, NATO was going to have teeth. It had American weaponry, American defence spending behind it. And despite the armistice, tensions remained and still remain even after decades. The DMZ, the Demilitarized Border Zone between North and South Korea, is still to this day perhaps the most guarded and perhaps the most dangerous border in the entire world. Thanks very much for listening.